Hey guys, I want to show you a little trick here that I used years ago, probably 25 years ago I must have made this thing, or maybe even longer. But there came a time when I needed to be able to remove the cam bearings out of the motor, and I'll just show you a little bit here. The cam bearings I'm talking about are what goes inside these journals here for the camshaft, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, including this back plug that keeps the oil in, oil plug. So at the time that I had rebuilt the motor I'm talking about years ago, I did not have a cam bearing tool to remove or replace the bearings. So let me show you what I did that I think is pretty neat, and it worked out pretty nice. This is the old camshaft, okay? That's the old cam. And this is the old timing gear to this engine. What I did was I took the timing gear and I took a torch and I cut, this is years ago now, I had cut these off. You may be able to think of a better way and be my guest. But I cut these off, okay? And then I took a hacksaw and I cut the end of this crank off. I kept the journal with the 3 bolt holes in it on a Chevy, that's what you have. So anyway, I bolted this back on there, and once I had cut this off, I started grinding it, and I ground it down to the point where I ended up with this. So what I have here is, this is actually the cam journal of the camshaft. Here we have the gear that's been ground down. Now I didn't use any kind of special tools. I didn't have any at the time. All I did was use a grinder, you know, like a bench grinder, to grind this down to the point, and let me just grab an old bearing here. I ground that down to the point where, this is an old cam bearing that came out of this engine just now, where it was just slightly smaller than the cam. This way here, and I could see that it was slightly smaller, and I could measure it, just so it was small enough that it could push out the journal. And you can see it's fairly tight on there because this actually is the size of the camshaft, okay? So the journal with the gear, and then I just put the bolts back in there, because at the time I was having problems welding to that. I don't know what kind of steel, if that's cast iron or not, for the gear, but I put some bolts back in and I could weld to them. I just had to tack this a little bit ago to make it stay on better. Now I was thinking I probably could have put a flat plate on there and bolted it to this, through a flat plate on this as well. But anyway, this works really good. So now I have 3 of them out, and all you do is just gently put this through there till you come to the one you want. Okay, right now I'm in a bearing that I want. As soon as it's loose, then you can pull the bearing off the end. See it there? I hope I'm getting this on the damn camera. And everything is fine. And then you can even use this to drive that last one out as well. All you do is just gently put it through there. You don't want a lot of trouble. You don't want anything dragging on the tooling that's in there. And then just drive the bearing out. Now what you heard rolling there is that cap that's back there. So it drove the cap out. And I'll show that to you. It drove the cap out and the bearing. Okay? So I have to take that bearing off of there. I can't do it with one hand to get the tool off. And then to install the bearings, you just you put the cap. You can put the cap in if you want first, or you can put the bearing down inside here. You put the tool in, bring the tool in, put the bearing over top of the tool, get it to up to the point where it wants to slide in, and that's all there is to it. And you can put the cam bearings back in with that same tool. So, you know, sometimes a little ingenuity, which is what America was really founded on, at one point. That's why they call the generation right before mine the greatest generation, because those guys were actually, you know, trying to do things and working with whatever they had to work with. I'm going to gently take that out of there. I don't want to scratch anything. Now the newer one I have has a leather and plastic cap thing on it so that it doesn't scratch nothing, but there's the bearing, and I mean, you can see that I have done, nothing has been done to that bearing. All I did was take and just drive it out, and you can just put a new one on there, a little bit of oil and stuff, and you can drive another one back in. So just a little bit of, you know, how to. So we're talking about the journal to the camshaft, right? I took the journal to the camshaft, cut it off, took the timing gear, cut that off in a circle as best I could, as close to the outer mark there, you know, wherever. You don't want to go too much bigger than what the bearing is, because you want to do a lot of grinding. Now it did take me a while to grind it down, I'm not saying it didn't, but I did not pay $200 for the kit like I did 30 years later. And if it wouldn't have been for me rebuilding a Ford engine for my son's Ford Ranger that blew up on him, I wouldn't have even bought that timing or that cam bearing installer. So journal, grind down the gear, and make sure it's an old gear, you know, just so it's slightly smaller than this so you don't scratch nothing, and you got something you can install and take out. And even if you do screw up a bearing, these bearings are not that expensive. They're not near as much as what the cam bearing tool is. Okay, so just to show you that I do have the tool. I bought this tool. It's been sitting on the shelf for about 2 years now. I bought this. You can see how new it looks yet. And I think this thing was about $186 or whatever. And there's no way that it's worth that. I mean, really, you know, this tool that I have here is self-centering because it's the exact size you need to work with. Alright guys, well, have a good one. I thought maybe you might enjoy that little bit of trivia. Bye.